Hey, I'm Sarah, and I'm really excited to be spending this time doing yoga together with you. And while it's not in person and it's online, hopefully it's at a time that connects and speaks with you. Today's practice is Remember. It's part 2 of a Remember series, but it doesn't have to be followed one after the other. Enjoy!
Please practice in a seated position on the mat. All you need for today is a mat. We'll take that seated position, separating out those feet to a half lotus and just extending through the spine, lengthening through the sit bones, back, neck, shoulders, taking hands to either side. Closing the eyes and just beginning with an intentional breath, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Just taking an inventory of the breath. Drawing the minds inward and just noticing the breath, starting to hear the sound of the breath. And then with that breath, taking an inventory of the spine, continually lengthening and aligning from the hips, visually drawing through the low back and mid back, visually lengthening through the upper spine, along the back of the neck, then feeling that extension express through the crown of the head. With these eyes closed, taking a hand on the heart and a hand on the belly, and feeling that 3-part breath, beginning with the belly, traveling through the chest, inhaling up, then exhaling from the chest, the ribs, back into the belly. Feeling that 3-part breath of the belly, the ribs, and the chest, and exhaling from the chest, the ribs, back into the belly. And with the idea of remembering, with intention, as we find place in the space of this breath, let's also invite the idea or the intention of creativity. And in this breath, with the eyes closed, focus on what it is that you want to create for yourself. It could be a word or phrase, it could be something visual. But opening some space for what it is that you, here and now, choose to create for yourself. Elizabeth Gilbert says, "The essential ingredient for creativity remains exactly the same for everybody. Courage, enchantment, permission, persistence, trust, and those elements are universally accessible. Which does not mean creative living is always easy. It merely means that creative living is always possible." So taking that breath and that intention and that focus and drawing the hands to the heart center. Let's step into the movement portion of our practice today. holding space for that, remembering what it is that we intentionally choose to create. Reaching those right fingertips down towards the earth and extending the left fingertips up towards the sky in a gentle lean and stretch. And then exhaling and releasing over to your opposite side. Gentle stretch, letting that head fall in line, looking over those top fingertips. And just swaying, almost like the branches of a palm tree from one side to the other. And shifting and swaying. One more time on either side. Then using that breath to sweep the inhale up, lengthening through the spine. And then exhale and just release, nice and gentle, drawing those right fingertips towards the left knee and the spine, aligning that hand along the spine. And then inhale, let's reach everything up. Exhaling, drawing down to the opposite side. Inhaling up. Exhaling, just feeling that gentle twist. And one more time, inhaling up. Exhaling, releasing down. From here, we'll travel onto all fours, finding that traditional tabletop position, which is a beautiful place to stay. But if we'd like to invite something maybe a little different with our placement today, taking those hands and pointing the fingertips towards the legs, opening and expressing maybe with a soft bend through the elbows, that tabletop position. Just awakening those sensations and how they might feel through the forearms, the necks, the shoulders. And then releasing those hands back, walking them forward, and setting up in the kneeling plank position, lowering all the way towards the earth, and feeling a gentle cobra, taking the hands off and extending along the horizon. Exhaling, pressing the hands into the earth, lifting the hips and the belly, and then pressing everything back and reaching into child's pose. Gazing at the fingertips and shifting forward, finding that kneeling plank position, lowering to the earth and lifting up through cobra, pressing into the palms and reaching back into child's pose. And again, inhaling, exhaling to the earth, inhaling to cobra, and exhaling, pressing back into child's pose. Trying that inhale with our breath back to the tabletop position. Again, feeling that traditional space, maybe rotating just one hand, maybe rotating both hands. Inhaling through the spine and exhaling and rounding into that cat, curling the toes under. And then inhaling, finding cow. Exhaling, rounding through that cat. And inhaling, releasing through cow. One more time, feeling that cat, cow sensation. Awakening the spine. Releasing anything that feels tense or tight. From here, drawing those hands back to that traditional place, pointing those fingertips forward, curling the toes under if they aren't already there, and lifting the knees off half of an inch. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose to create that fire and heat from within, and then releasing back into tiger dog. Long spine, opening space between the ears and the shoulders, and then releasing back to floating table. Exhaling, finding that tiger dog. Inhaling, feeling that floating table. One more time, exhaling, staying in that tiger dog position. Beautiful. And from here, making any adjustments to pedal the feet to downward facing dog. Lengthening through the neck and shoulders, extending through the spine, and keeping those knees bent as much as they need in this current space and place. Expanding that breath and making the connection that intentional breath is a tool of creation. Drawing those feet together, softly bending through the knees and gazing towards the hands. Gently lift through the belly and make the way towards the tops of the mat. Inhaling, half lift, exhale, forward fold. And then inhaling, sweeping everything up towards the sky. We'll start with a few sun salutations in this place and space. Inhaling up towards the sky. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back with the feet to that kneeling plank or on the toes. We lower down through that cobra, or we come halfway and shift ourselves forward and into the upward facing dog. Lifting the hips, we release back, transitioning into downward facing dog. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Soft bend in the knees, gazing at the fingertips. We step forward or hop, bringing those feet towards the hands, extending through the legs. Half lift, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, bringing everything all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, toe or kneeling plank. Lowering to the earth, squeezing those elbows to the sides of the body, and then shifting forward, finding that cobra or upward facing dog. Releasing back, downward facing dog, big toes together. Feeling the breath. Bending through the knees, gazing at the hands, stepping or hopping towards those palms. Inhaling, half lift, exhaling, forward fold, and inhaling all the way up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, toe or kneeling plank. I'll show that kneeling plank option. We lower to the earth, finding that cobra space or upward facing dog. And then releasing back through those knees, finding that downward dog position. And we stay here, hopefully feeling a little more open, a little more expansive, even in just these first few moments of warming through the body and legs. From here, we lift up the right leg towards the sky, equal pressure between both palms, staying square through the hips, and lifting the heel of the left foot as high as we can bring it up, drawing the knee of the right leg in towards the chest, as if we were giving the leg a hug, and then releasing and letting it come back up towards the sky, hips staying square. From here, pulling that knee in, giving it a hug, and drawing it all the way forward, placing that foot between either hand, lowering the back leg, and feeling our low lunge position. Now for today, in this low lunge position, we'll play with a little bit of placement with our hands. So we have the traditional prayer hands, where we can take them and hold that space right here. But for another alternative, we could take that upside down prayer position behind us, bending through those elbows and connecting those palms and fingers. And just for today, letting those fingertips point downward as we maybe reach up towards the sky. We could find ourselves expressing a full reverse prayer with those fingertips pointing upward and those wrists coming together. And again, awakening through that sensation. But find whichever one speaks to you, pointing those fingertips up towards the sky in a full reverse prayer, or maybe pointing those fingertips down towards the earth. From here, hinging at the hips, and just like an arrow, extending from the crown of the head all the way through the leg. Nice and long in the spine. And on the next breath, exhaling and releasing, left hand to the inside of the right foot, lifting and gazing over that right shoulder, extending those right fingertips up towards the sky with a gentle revolve. Choosing to stay here, or for a little deeper expression, we can bend the leg, the left leg behind us, maybe drawing and finding a connection of the hand and foot. Inhaling and exhaling, opening up through that chest, neck, shoulder. And then releasing everything back, squaring off, curling the back toes under. Hands are light on the mat as if placed a tennis ball underneath with those soft fingertips. We extend and lift the leg up and find ourselves in high lunge. Again, playing with that arm placement, we can extend overhead. We could take the hands to traditional heart center. We could reverse those hands back, fingertips pointing towards the earth, or a full reverse prayer, drawing those fingertips up towards the sky. Breathing in those sensations. Inhaling and exhaling. Beautiful. And wherever those hands are, release them and let them come all the way up towards the sky. We'll be grabbing the right hand, grabbing onto the left wrist. And as we grab that left wrist, we're reaching and extending over to the right side body. And we'll allow the left foot to just kind of pick up and follow its placement. So the left foot and the body work over towards the right side. I'll turn so you can see that space and place that I'm taking. But we reach that left foot behind, bending the knees and extend long through that left side body, and then allowing the head to gaze towards those palms and fingertips. And on the next exhale, releasing hands and feet, stepping together into chair pose. Your chair. So maybe it's resting the hands on the thighs. Maybe it's bringing them to the heart. We'll exhale, and with that exhale, twist our chair, drawing your left elbow towards your right knee. So you're still facing the top of the mat. You're drawing that the left elbow towards that right knee, gazing up over the right side body. I'll turn so you can see me here. So one thing we look for is keeping that heart above the hips, which means our rotation could be much more square and centered, never actually making that full connection with the knee. And that's okay. And then releasing everything into the forward fold. As we're at the top of our mats, the left foot steps behind, and we circle sweep and open to warrior two. Yes, so your right leg is bent, finding that warrior two position. Beautiful. And then again, just for options, playing with those reverse prayer, or any type of prayer position with those hands placed behind us. And we'll be taking the right toes and lifting those right toes and squaring them towards the sides of our mat so that both toes are pointed towards that side. The hands are still behind us, soft bend in the knees, and we hinge forward, lengthening through the spine, letting the crown of the head drive towards the earth. Again, those fingertips now are either pointing towards the sky or pointing further down towards the earth, depending on what connection we have behind us. Maybe even closing the eyes for a moment. And then releasing those hands all the way to the earth. From here, the left foot or that back leg just takes a little walk a little bit closer together, and the right toes point themselves forward. Shifting ourselves to triangle, we stack and open those shoulders. And that connection for triangle, I know for me, feels better, a little bit higher. Sometimes we can reach the floor, and sometimes our bodies ask us to stay a little more lifted. Either way, the floor is still there. But just inhale and exhale with that breath. From here, those left fingertips sweep back behind us and travel down and forward, squaring through the hips and into Warrior Three. Again, feeling that traditional space in Warrior Three, possibly bringing those hands to the heart center and possibly playing with them behind the body. Encouraging our minds to create balance in a slightly different way. Hardwiring and changing those paces and spaces that might feel routine or comfortable, and stepping into them with a little bit of courage and hope. From here, teeter-totter to a standing position. Your left leg continues to travel forward, and then it hinges and bends in front. And I'll turn so you can see me. But your left leg is still forward, and we're sitting back into an eagle pose position. Beautiful. So lots of variations with eagle. We're taking this one for our bodies right now to show progression into a flying pigeon for anyone that chooses to go there today. But for now, feeling that flying or that steady eagle space. And again, those hands, we're just going to draw them to the heart today. Yes. From here, we can stay and feel this bouncing sensation of eagle, which is a beautiful place to stay. But for those wishing to travel into flying pigeon today, we continue to bend the right leg, hinge from the hips, and take the hands down towards the earth. Fingertips point forward, shoulder distance apart. We bend from the elbow, and the left leg rests itself on the back side of the left and right arm. And as we bend those elbows, we just hinge, teeter-totter, and lift. Beautiful. Releasing back. Planting those feet. Forward fold. Inhaling, half lift. Exhaling, stepping everything back. Releasing into child's pose. Coming back to that visualization of whatever it is that you're choosing to focus on, to create. And let's for a moment give it a color. Just visualize a color with it. Then gazing at the fingertips, curling the toes under, lifting the hips, and finding downward facing dog. Holding that downward facing dog and just opening through the body. Take these next few breaths however they speak for you. Maybe that's moving through the chaturanga series where we lower down in that flow, lifting through cobra or upward facing dog, and release back into downward facing dog or child's pose. Maybe it's allowing yourself to go into stillness with that child's pose, or possibly staying in downward facing dog. But take your breaths however they speak to you. Take your movement or your stillness however it speaks to you. Joining together in downward facing dog. The left leg this time lifts up towards the sky, and we draw the heel of the right foot as high as we can get it, squaring to the hips, equal pressure through both hands. Bending at the knee and pulling the knee as if we were giving it a hug, and then releasing back. Beautiful, and then pulling that knee in towards the chest, all the way forward, carrying it, bringing that foot between the hands. Yes. From here, the back leg lowers, and we step into the low lunge position. Hands at heart center, possibly playing with that heart position behind us. Those fingertips could be pointing down, or they could be pointing up. Taking them behind, feeling that space and place, gazing towards the sky. Opening and remembering that breath. From here, we release those fingertips. The right fingertips draw towards the earth. The left fingertips reach up towards the sky. We may choose to stay right here or even revolve this further, bending the right knee and grabbing those toes. Gazing over the left shoulder. From here, take hands to either side of the left knee, curl the back toes under, lift the knee, squaring through those hips, engaging through the belly, and lift all the way up to a high lunge. Again, we could feel those arms extended. Maybe we're at heart center, and maybe we're pointing those fingertips down or slightly up. From here, we release those hands, and this time we're grabbing, the right hand is grabbing onto the left like this. And we're reaching over to the left side body. With that reach, the right toes cross themselves behind the left leg. And I'll turn so you can see me. So that left leg is forward, the right toes cross behind, and we reach to the left, opening up the right side body, and then taking the gaze, extending it towards those hands. This is a variation of a Krishna pose. From here, releasing those hands, drawing both legs together into chair. And twisting our chair. So you're still at the top of the mat, and you'll be twisting towards your left leg. So we're drawing that right elbow over, lifting the left elbow towards the sky. Again, gentle, yes, maybe making that connection, maybe not. It really doesn't matter. Even better, you're practicing in your home, so you just enjoy letting go of any type of comparison. Hold that space just for you, exactly where it's at. Release everything into the fold. From here, the right leg steps back and we pinwheel and open ourselves up to warrior two. So your left leg is bent, the right leg is extended, and those arms, again, place in that traditional warrior two pose, or for variation, we're drawing them behind us. Again, that upside down reverse prayer, or the traditional reverse prayer happening behind our backs. From here, those left toes lift up towards the sky and rotate themselves forward or towards that side mat position. Inhaling towards the sky and exhaling, we hinge from the hips, finding that wide straddle in the reverse prayer position, letting the crown of the head guide towards the earth. I'm noticing a lot of sensations in this space, even some shaking through the legs. And if you're feeling that too, that's totally okay. Keep a soft bend in those knees. Breathe through the energy and sensations as they come up. Let those hands walk all the way to the earth and then towards the left foot. We take the right foot and we just step it in, heel toe ever so slightly. The left toes point themselves forward and we shift and open into triangle. And again, my triangle looks a little bit higher, stacked. But wherever we take that triangle space, keeping ourselves stacked, shoulders, hips, and looking skyward. The right fingertips circle themselves back behind us. We square through the hips and continue that motion forward into warrior three. Again, letting those hands possibly fly. Maybe they come to the traditional heart center, or maybe we keep playing, remembering and wiring those new creative places in the bodies. Knowing that we can keep that standing leg bent as much as we need or want, and also knowing that at any time we could touch those back toes onto the earth. From here, we hinge and teeter-totter ourselves to an upright position. The right leg is drawing itself forward, bending that knee, Opening through the knee and hip and finding that eagle pose, shifting and sitting back. Now I'll turn so you can see me from the front, but go ahead and stay where you're at the top of your mat. Eagle pose, we have that knee bent. We bend the standing leg as much as we choose. And for today, keeping those hands at heart center. From here, we'll be transferring into flying pigeon. Flying pigeon, again, we can stay in this eagle pose, but for those who would like to try that flying sensation today, we're shifting and lowering our hands to the earth, bending through the knee and extending those legs back behind us. Holding on to that space for a few breaths, inhaling, exhaling through the nose, releasing any of those areas that feel tense or tight. And then as we're ready, unraveling out of it and joining together in child's pose. So if we're coming from that eagle place, working ourselves down onto the mat and finding child's pose. Maybe a few exhales out of the mouth, especially if we're feeling some of that inner heat. And then from here, lift the hips, shift over to a seated position, and travel just forward enough to place those feet. One leg is bent and the other is extended. It doesn't matter. We'll do both for just a moment. Fingertips pointing forward, and we lift up. So variation between a reverse tabletop and reverse plank. The beautiful way to open up through the heart and shoulders. Head is in line with the spine. And then we release down, extend the opposite leg, drawing it forward and lifting up. And releasing everything down, pulling those knees together in towards the chest. And then releasing everything down onto the mat, taking it down any way that feels good for you. Could be knees bent, it could be the legs straight. We're taking it down, and then take those arms overhead, legs overhead, and just stretch the body as long as possible. Feel that awakening. Pull the knees in towards the chest and extend the legs up towards the sky. Legs on the wall without using a wall for just a few moments. And remember, however much those legs bend, that's okay. Just keep that spine connected to the earth. Open those palms to the sky. And then as we're ready, lengthening through those heels. Closing the eyes and just breathing. Breathing in that space that surrounds us. Giving ourselves permission to just listen to what's inwardly speaking. Giving ourselves permission to listen to that heart space. And the thoughts of the mind as they trickle in, allowing them to release and exhale right back out. Noticing that thoughts are just thoughts, and we begin remembering thoughts and choosing thoughts with intention, we begin creating space for new thoughts by that first step of awareness that they are just thoughts. As you're ready, bending those knees and then extending the legs to your final Shavasana for today. So we could take that meditative space with the backs on the mat and the legs and arms extended, but some of us may like having those legs bent. Others of us may even prefer a seated position. But find that place and space that works for you today in your body. I'll be shifting to a seated position as I talk you through this guided visualization and meditation today. But you find and hold that stillness exactly as it speaks for you. Closing the eyes, releasing any of that tension in the facial muscles, and recognizing a softness start to envelop from the top of the head, traveling all the way through the mid-body and traveling down into the lower body. And in this next breath, draw your mind and your memory as if you were sorting through memories of the past. And as we were just maybe scrolling through lots of different memories in the past, knowing that the past could be anything from the day prior to a week ago, to a year ago, to 5 or 10 years ago, even to many, many years. But as we notice, looking back, there's many, many places and memories. And initially we might just notice as we kind of skirt and flood through, different ones pop up to mind. And they might bring with them feelings and associations that attach with it. But for right now, as the mind is just starting to think backwards a little bit, find and hold onto a very specific memory, one that brings you an abundance of joy. One that in that present moment felt pure joy. Take a moment to slow down the different memories as they bounce in and come to this one specific time. No matter how small, no matter what a small blip that moment was. And then allow yourself to re-step into that memory. Not adding any layers of additional emotions, but just staying, viewing yourself in that time of joy. Listening for the sounds of that memory, the smells, the colors. And taking yourself to that very specific place, that moment. As if you were stepping back into yourself, not looking from a distance, but stepping right back into it. Those are the things that ran through your mind in that very moment of joy. What were the sensations? As much as the mind wants to bounce or shift to other places or bring it forward, just stay in that space and hold it. And start to notice that heart space. As you continue thinking about this clear moment in your mind that brought you joy, start to notice the feelings of joy here and now in this present moment begin to expand within you. Let them. Breathe them in as if a sunrise is expanding within you. That feeling of joy might start really small, like the hint of a sunrise just beginning to glisten along the horizon. But then notice as you continue to feed that memory with those specific thoughts that brought joy in that past. That joy within you continues to expand like the sunrise, getting brighter and extending to more places and spaces throughout the body. Letting that sunrise continue to travel into those limbs as if light were extending from your fingertips, your toes, and the crown of your head. Feeling that joy created from within you. As you breathe in this light and sensation, and as the memory starts to fade, and as we start to come back into the present moment, just feeling that light and joy within ourselves. Know that this can be a tool to generate. When we look back with intention and we remember with intention, that we can use this tool as a guiding space and place to create feelings that serve us. This can be a beautiful way to start the day, open and clear-minded, especially if the mind might initially feel clouded or heavy, sad or anxious. Knowing that we can practice this, not only with joy, but also feelings of gratitude or calm. Any emotion that we want to generate with intention, we can instill memories, frame those memories in a way that generates those feelings for us. As we begin to release back into this present moment, drawing the fingertips with the thumb. If we're in that lying position, or if we're in a seated position, take those arms and stretch them overhead and just awaken the body one last time. If we're lying down, stretching those arms and legs out long. If we're seated, just stretching those arms. And then shifting over for those of us lying down to a side lying position and working up to a seated position. Stacking those shoulders over the hips, heads over the shoulders, hands pointing towards the knees for grounding or lifting towards the sky for receiving. And close this practice with remembering that the light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.
Hi. So I wanted to just recap the visualization, that guided meditation of intentionally remembering. It can be a powerful tool, and it's one that I use regularly because when we draw times in our past that cultivate feelings that we want to grow, whether that's joy or even practicing gratitude or peace, we can use that past memory to cultivate that feeling in the present moment, and then use that creative power to bring that into our present life in some way, shape, or form. This has been one that I have gone to and used many times, particularly with navigating change or navigating uncertainty or navigating anxiety or sadness. And not as a tool to ignore or not process, negative emotions as they come up, but as a tool to intentionally create and grow the good. I am a big believer in the power of being a co-creator with God. I love the first line in the Bible where in the beginning God created. And I like to think that as we step into this space and that intentional awareness of just knowing that we can create, sometimes that helps shift our perspective, our thoughts from a place of scarcity or a place of fear into a place of courage and faith. So that is it, friends. Wishing you all the love.